Yesterday, we discussed the madness of the transfer portal, and I think what got lost in all this are the guys who decided not to go to the NFL. Guys who may have been highly touted as prospects decided to return to school, and we're going to discuss those players today. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. And special thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring the video. If you want to save 20% off plus free shipping, use promo code Broshmo at checkout. And hey, your balls will thank you. I think that's their tagline. Anywho, let's go ahead, get into this sucker. We're going to start with Michael Penix Jr. He was a big surprise for me because now he is going to enter the NFL, and he's going to be probably 24 by the time he starts his rookie year. So he's going to have to wait till the 2024 class, but he decides to run it back one more year there with Washington. He is 6'3", 213, playing the quarterback position, if you didn't know. And he had a great season this year, throwing for over 4,000 yards, 29 touchdowns. He also had 4 touchdowns on the ground. The biggest concern really when talking about him as an eval, you're going to look at the injuries. Like, this guy has had a season-ending injury every year of his collegiate career, aside from this past season. So maybe another year of showing, hey, I could stay healthy through a season. Because if you go back to his days at Indiana, his he redshirted his freshman season, but he suffered a ACL tear that year in 2019. He started the first 6 games before suffering another season-ending injury to something I can't pronounce. I think it was a shoulder issue. Then he had another season-ending injury to the ACL the next year. And then in 2021, he had a separated shoulder that ended his season. This guy didn't play more than 6 games any given season until this year at Washington. So showing he could play another full season could go a long way. He will be one of the older prospects, which I think kind of seals him into the day 3 mix for the 2024 class. But have a Hendon Hooker like year, and we could talk about this guy as a day 2 prospect because the dude's got a really good arm. He can spray the ball wherever he wants on the field. The deep ball accuracy is great. He throws with beautiful touch. I'm a sucker for a guy with a touch pass, and the dude is for all intents and purposes, he's a guy that loves to function inside the pocket. He maneuvers the pocket well. He can extend, plays with his feet, but he's not a guy that's looking to win with his feet. He's still looking downfield. He's still looking for his open guys. Now, there are things about his mechanics that need fine-tuning, but a guy with this type of arm talent, if you can show, hey, I can stay healthy, still the injury thing will be a concern, but being healthy for back-to-back years, I think could definitely help his stock. I don't think we're ever going to talk about him as a first-round candidate, and I kind of shudder to say that he's a top 50 guy or can be a top 50 guy, but I definitely think we could talk about him in the 3rd round with a good, healthy season. So he's returned back to Washington. By the way, if you're looking for guys that are transferring, that decide to return to school and happen to be transferring, I'm talking about guys returning to their school. I talked about the transfer guys all yesterday. You can check out that video. These are guys specifically returning back to their school. With next on the list being Jacob Cohen was a surprise for me. He's going back to Arizona, and he had a really good year in his first season as a Power 5 player, going for 85 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 7 tutties. His size will be an issue with him. 5'11", 175. You're not going to like that. Teams aren't going to like that. But it kind of is what it is. Dude was a monster at UTEP. Showed, hey, I'm that same type of animal here over in the Pac-12. He's a very fast, a very smooth athlete. He's just twitched up. And this dude he finesses guys. He just finesses them. I love what he can do as a receiver. In terms of like his usage, he kind of feels like a slot only prospect. Matter of fact, if we go to this season, let's see what exactly his his slot percentage was this season. I still think it was pretty high because I think it was in that 80% back at UTEP. And I'm pretty sure U of A used him in a similar fashion as, yeah, he played 70% in the slot, which, I mean, to be fair, man, this cat, those are basically like Cooper Kupp usage, like where he's playing about 30% on the outside. So it's not bad, but still, like, you look at the size, it's like, yeah, he's going to be a slot only guy. I had a 5th round grade on him if he didn't decide to go out. I thought he was like an early day 3 candidate, but yeah, he's going to be waiting another year. I don't have an age on him, but this would be his 5th year in college. Let me see. Yeah, it would be his 5th year in college. Return to Arizona, so I imagine he's in the 23 range, or he will be when he gets drafted. Next on the list is Kayshon Boutte, one of the more surprising guys to return, and to LSU nonetheless, given what all that happened. Now, you love the size at 6 foot 205, and just didn't have quite this season. And let's just kind of like talk about this season for Boutte, who was my wide receiver 1 going into the season from my summer evals. Boutte goes into that Florida State game, and it's just not a way you want to start the season. It's utter chaos. It's a nightmare. Like, you had the drops. One benefit of the doubt, man. He came down hard on a jump ball in the end zone. He had it, and then the minute he hit grass, that sucker bounced out. It was a hard landing too. But the other one, he just wasn't looking up on the slant route. And then you saw him get into it with coaches and with Jaden Daniels. As it was like, man, you could tell that he really had it, like, he wasn't going to be the focal point of this offense. And then he after the whole scrums on the sideline, he scrubs everything LSU on his social media, and you think this guy might be transferring. Maybe he's just gonna opt in, and they were able to reconcile things, and he goes on to play the rest of the year. And it's just not an ideal year for him. 48 receptions for over 500 yards, 2 tutties, and he did noticeably look less explosive this season. If you didn't know, prior to the season, he had 2 ankle surgeries, 2 procedures on the same ankle. I can't remember which one it was. So coming into the year, it was like explosiveness is going to be a question. He noticeably didn't look nearly as explosive. Now, him returning, I still had him as a top 50 prospect. I still felt like he could be that guy. And I mean, there would probably be a good chance this guy could go to the 3rd round. I don't think he escapes day 2. But now he's going back to school. He's going to try to rehab his stock. He'll be 22 when drafted in the 2024 draft. So it won't necessarily, like, it's not where he's losing anything really by returning. I think he really only hopes to gain. So what him and Brian Kelly, maybe they're on the same page. They're gonna get a new quarterback in there. So yeah, I think ultimately it was probably the right call for Boutte. The thing was, with this receiving class, it's kind of lackluster at the top. That's why we still talked about this guy as like wide receiver 4 or 5, or even 3 in some cases. But yeah, Boutte coming back to school. Next on the list is Olu Fashanu. He actually said he was returning a bit earlier than some of these other guys on the list. But for Olu, thing was, this guy was a first-year starter. He did not expect this type of meteoric rise up draft boards. Like, he going into the near the end of this season, a lot of people were talking about this guy as a top 10 talent. I had him hovering around there around like 11 or 12. Dan Brugler had him as high as I think 5 or 6. So like, he was being talked about as a top 10 guy, and he said he was totally blindsided by this. He's like, he just didn't expect it, and he's not ready to go to the NFL. And he's a young cat. This dude's 19 going on 20. So, like, okay, he has time to, like, go back to school and further develop and maybe wrap up his degree or whatnot. And it sucks, yeah, you're leaving money on the table, but I mean, with NI deals, man, I mean, dude's probably going to end up making money regardless. But yeah, let's talk about Fashanu, because I think he was probably the most put together pass protector in this class. Like, he had the ideal length for the position. He throws definite blows. He's a good athlete for the position. Just a lot of high end traits. And where he was sort of lacking was a run blocker. This cat wasn't a real mover in the run game. He doesn't have that finisher mentality, and he was a cat that was more kind of focused on just kind of like getting in front of a guy and just kind of being this roadblock rather than a bulldozer in the run game. There were. I would say he's got some really good balance, and you'd wish, a guy at 6'6", you wonder how will they do in terms of what's their flexibility? Can they sink their hips and consistently get leverage? And leverage was kind of like infrequent during the year, but it really, like, you really didn't notice that too much, at least in the pass protection, as he only allowed 7 pressures on the season. But great size, 6'6". 321. He's gonna be up there for top tackle in 2024, and he was probably by far the most surprising return on this list. Next, we have Lucas Van Ness, edge out of Iowa. This one doesn't surprise me because I think he's going to end up being a top 10, top 20 pick in the 2024 draft. Another guy who's fairly young, I think he's going to be 23 before he plays his first snap in the NFL, in terms of if coming out of the 2024 draft. But the dude has ideal size, probably some of the most powerful hands you'll ever see. He's like straight up. This is how I described him in prior videos. He's a grizzly bear. This is a guy that just overwhelms offensive linemen with just how strong and how he imposes that on to the blockers. Now, this cat, for all intents and purposes, he's a power edge. He is a power edge at 6'5", 269. He is a power edge who doesn't have much of a toolbox as of yet. He's not that technically sound. You want to see more precision in his strikes and more of a kind of more purpose and reason rather than just kind of wildly throwing blows. But this guy's been, for the most part, a rotation player his whole career. Even this year, I don't think he had a start to his name, but was just heavily involved in the rotation and was by far their best pass rusher with 43 pressures. So he's returning, and I got some expectations for him. I really, really do. He's been very impressive. Next on the list here, we have Cam Hart out of Notre Dame. I had a 6th-round grade on him because I absolutely love this cat's size at 6'2", 205, playing the corner position there for the Fighting Irish. And it was a little plagued by injury this year, and the play was all right. Nothing like outstanding. I think going into the year, I had about a 5th to 6th round grade on him, and then he kind of finishes 6th here for me. He decides to return. I don't think he's playing the bowl game because of injury, but he did state, I am going to return for my squad here. But you love the size, you love the length. He shows physicality throughout the routes. There you see him in a picture there against Zay Flowers, who's going to be a highly regarded prospect. But he just wasn't nearly as productive as he had been in years past. And part of that is like there's not a lot of explosiveness to his game. There are times where he does kind of open up his hips prematurely and allows himself to get put in a blender by wide receivers. And like, I do want to see him get better as a run defender, especially at that size. So, yeah, I think, honestly, Notre Dame's going to have a really nice secondary going into next season. But I think it was probably the right call for him to decide to come back and try to rehab some of that stock. I still think he's probably going to be a day 3 guy next year after my evals. But overall, I think it's the right decision. A guy with a lot of physical tools. Next on the list, Tyler Nubbin out of Minnesota. I was shocked that this cat decided to come back to Minnesota. I really was. Because you look at this, I had him as top 75 prospect, 6'2", 210 at the safety position. He has length. He has explosiveness. This is a scary guy to throw to. He had 4 interceptions and 4 pass breakups on the season. And he's a cat that honestly, like, there's not much you could really add to his game. You know, he is a bit like slow to react, but a lot of that is saved by his length and his closing speed. So maybe a bit more trust in your eyes, but I mean, honestly, that's something you could probably go to the NFL and work on. The change direction, you know, it's kind of whatever, but as a split high guy at that size, like, I was really digging Nubbin and his teammate too, who I think still declared. I don't know, man. With Rona eligibility, like a lot of these guys could come back. Like shoot, Frank Harris for UTSA. He won't be a highly regarded prospect, but he's returned for his 7th season there at UTSA. So just wild, which kind of like really makes me think who, like, if that receiving core, if any of those guys decide to return. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, Nubbin was a bit of a surprise return for me. Next is Rashad Wisdom out of UTSA. I was just talking about UTSA. He's returning as well, and a lot of that has to do with injury. I think going into the year, I had him as a mid-day 3 prospect because he's this compact, more of a box safety at 6'9", 210. And this season, he just couldn't. He never was truly healthy, and you could tell as he was just missing tackles willy-nilly. 30% missed tackle rate. He only played, I think, 5 games before being shut down because of the shoulder injury. But this dude has a headhunter mentality at that compact size. He loves to throw caution to the wind and throws his body at guys. And I mean, for me, I was like, the missed tackles weren't a big thing. I think going into the year, he had a career rate of 15%, which is like, that's fine for a defender. You know, you get to that 18 to 20, and then it's like, I think you need to work on that technique. And then this year it was 31, but again, not playing healthy. He doesn't have like a lot of ideal physical tools. And it kind of makes it to where, yeah, he's like a box-only skill set. And typically you look at those box-only guys, unless there's something rare about them, they're like, you start thinking about them in the 5th round area. And that's kind of where I had him. But like, just with the overall play, the injury, going into this, I was like, man, he's going to be a UDFA for me, man. But decided to return, which is fine. He'll be 23 if he goes in the 2024 draft. So not bad at all. Not bad age at all. So it's going to be a stacked safety class. And I'm glad to see that he has decided to return and trying to rehab some of that stock. Then we got KJ Jefferson. And this is one I'm very indifferent about with KJ Jefferson. I had a midday 3 grade on him, which a lot of people love this cat, and I don't blame them. It's just, I look at him and it's like, I don't think he's a quarterback at the NFL. I really don't, because he plays in a very simplistic scheme when it comes to what he's asked to do as a passer. Now, what he can do as a runner is special, really is. And he's got a big arm, but it's like the accuracy of the ball placement so all over the place. He's not asked to do too many reads. And really with that Arkansas offense, it's a lot of screens and a lot of vertical routes. You know, he's not really asked to like test the middle of the field a lot. So there's a lot of projected going on with him. And I honestly, I look at that size at 6'3", 242, and I'm like, you know what, man, maybe this guy can like cut his teeth like as a tight end or as an H-back or something. Maybe not necessarily a quarterback in the NFL. And I think honestly, a part of that, I know he was slowed a bit by a concussion this season. Arkansas didn't have the ideal year, so him coming back and then like honestly, like he's got Sanders there in the backfield, so that offense is going to be scary. They get to run it back. Honestly, they probably think they're better than a 6-6 team, and I don't blame them. So I don't know if him returning is part. Oh, there's a lot. I feel like I'm leaving on the table there in terms of what we could have done this past season, or maybe like he just didn't get a favorable projection from the NFL. So a lot to wonder with him, but I don't know if anything he does will translate in the NFL as a passer, and I just don't know if that'll be the position he ends up sticking with. I mean, we're talking like a Tyree Jackson or a Logan Thomas type of transition. And then last guy on this list, and I'll mention a couple of others, is Christian Mahogany out of Boston College. Actually didn't play a snap at all this year, and I wanted to bring him up because I feel like a lot of people forgot about him. He tore his ACL before the season and immediately said, yeah, I'm going to return for the 2023 season with Boston College, which you love to see. And this was a guy I really liked before the season. If you didn't know, like you go back to my top offensive interior prospects, I think he was interior number 2 or 3 for me. He was up there. No, he was probably like closer to like 4 or 5. But like I had a top 50 grade on him. I was a big fan, and it was just unfortunate that he goes down with the injury, so he's going to decide to return, which is great. This guy's a mauler, and easily overwhelms defenders with a very explosive lower body and legs that just continuously drive. I love guys that just continue to drive their legs at the point of contact and through contact. I feel like that's regardless any position. I love to see something like that. He shows very good movement skills, climbs well to the second level, obliterates linebackers. You go back to his 2021 tape because we had nothing on 2022. And he was able to handle Myles Murphy, who is a physical specimen. If you don't know, he's one of my favorite guys in this draft class. This dude just throws jarring blows, and he's made for the NFL. He really is at 6'3", 318. Going to be playing guard there. He played. He initially played left guard, moved to right guard when Zion Johnson moved back from left tackle to left guard in 2021, and then this year he was supposed to move back to left guard. But I mean, a few of the things I didn't like about him was that he really relies on that thick frame to contain quicker pass rushers, since honestly his length and quicks are kind of whatever. And he does have a bit of an awkward stance where he's not like sitting in a stance. He's more so hunched over in it. But like overall, man, this guy's play was amazing in 2021. It really sucked that he didn't get to play 2020 this past season, and it's just a guy that I think a lot of people have probably forgotten about. And I want to mention a couple of other guys who haven't yet, I think, said they're returning, but they were also thought of as highly draft eligible prospects, but because of injuries might end up returning. Jalen Catalon out of Arkansas. Injuries have been the bane of his career, and I think that red flag will, even with a banger, if he decides to return a banger year, I think still puts him in that early day 3, late day 2 area. Just because injuries are a real concern with him. Don't know if he's returned to Arkansas just yet. And then you have the defensive interior player, Brett Johnson from Cal, who's just had a bad run he was in a car accident back in 2021 that caused him to be out for the season. And then this year hurt himself during summer practices and missed this whole season. So another guy that I think might be eligible to return. He was on Todd McShay's top 50 prior going into the season. So those are two guys I really wanted to mention also that we didn't get to see a lot, but they haven't decided if they're going to declare a return. Mahogany has already stated that he will return. But let me know who are some guys maybe you want to hear about in the video. Remember, I wasn't covering guys who are staying and transferring. I talked about transfer guys yesterday, so you can check that video out. But that's it for the video. Until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.